my reflection on the videos, both the first and second ones that I did on how to operate a snowblower. Carol talks about the reflective cycle and how that is used to become better teachers, to move from teacher-led instruction to student-led learning. And she talks about being in the moment, describing the moment, analyzing, and coming up with different ways to problem solve the issues that are facing you. She quotes John Dewey in a book that he wrote in 1938 talking about intelligent action instead of regular action. Intelligent action meaning that you have a critical reflection before you move to do something. In Yost, he talks about critical reflection as a necessary part of what we do as teachers, to critically reflect on what we're doing and to move to a student-led form of lesson planning and instruction. In my videos, the first one, it was a very haphazard video in that the instruction was all over the place. It was not tied to any learning theory that I was conscious of at the time. So probably the weaknesses that we had there is that it was not thoughtful in the way the lesson plan was developed. In my second video, I think the strengths and weaknesses were pretty evident, and that I purposely used sociocultural theory, constructivist theory, learning information theory, information processing theory, and behavioralism. So I used 3 or 4 different theories in which to craft my lesson plan. Behavioralism, when I had the water sprayed in my face so that I could move the snow thrower to keep the water out of my eyes. Constructivist, where I used prior knowledge of the lawnmower that Quinn knew how to use to start the snowblower. I used information processing theory with mnemonics to come up with an acronym to get the list of CTOTs, which is a check, turn on, operate, turn off, and store. I think that certainly the weaknesses or the strengths of this were that I was purposeful in choosing these theories. I think that by involving these in lesson planning, it became a much stronger lesson. The weaknesses, however, was that I did not really use any strategies for special needs children, such as Cormac, who is a special needs child. And probably what I could have done is done something a little bit more descriptive in showing him how to do things, and I think that would have been a better way. I also think that this particular way I taught, I could do it better because I don't think the critical thinking that was used here was one in which I don't think would transfer over into any other types of problems that Quinn or Cormac might face. I think it was just really to this issue of how to operate a snowblower. Doing it again, I think that I would have done something to got some higher level thinking skills in there that they could transfer over. Maybe go over a list and say, this is okay, this is just for operating a snowblower. However, you could transfer this to other things also. Some of the different, when I reflect on some of the things that I think that I can take from this into my practice, is that careful and thoughtful reflection on my first video really transformed how I thought about how I was going to teach my second video or teach my second lesson. And I think it's self-evident in the fact that I did use these different strategies to basically talk about the same thing, which was to meet my learning objective of having the students operate a snowblower. Also, the assessment that I used was tied to Anderson and Krathwohl's a taxonomy table, where I was applying procedural knowledge. And so the assessment that I used was one where I had it was a performance-based one where the students could be videotaped and then compare it to what they learned. Overall, I think that this was a impactful thing for me and how I'm going to go about and reflect on my practice. I would like to videotape myself many times in the future so that I can get a better handle of how I am becoming a student-led type of instructor instead of one that is focused on just the teacher. Well, that's all I have to say. Thanks, and it's been a great class. Good night.